It's the halfway mark of the Big 12 football season, and we are dishing out grades to all 16 teams. I've got one A plus and I've got one F. You can guess who those two are. Everybody else, I've got sandwiched in between. Welcome in. I'm Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports. Where you find us, not usually coming to you on a Thursday, but here we are because we're halfway through. So I said, let's dish out the grades. Let's do it. All I ask from you is a subscription right now. Make sure, just take a second, take a beat, make sure you're subscribed, and also hit the like button on the video. Same thing on the podcast. So we're going to do this, just write down the list, alphabetical order, grade every team at the halfway mark of the Big 12 football season. What do you say? Thanks for being here. Let's start with Arizona. I'm giving Arizona a solid B+. They've exceeded expectation for me so far in the early season, and they let that BYU game slip between their fingers last week. Otherwise, I probably would have them at an A or an A-. They only lost to Iowa State and then BYU on Saturday. Good win over K-State, blew out Oklahoma State, and they just look like a better program than they did a year ago under Brent Brennan. Actually, the defense has been pretty darn solid for Arizona so far this year. That's been impressive to me as much as anything else. One of the bigger surprises as well has been Arizona's defense. So all in all, I like where the team is at. You have to believe that Brent Brennan has this thing trending in the right direction, but you got to win a couple of these next few games. Houston, Colorado, Kansas. If you're an Arizona fan, you should feel like 2-1 is doable. You definitely can't go 0-3, even though these are three tough games and I would say three evenly matched games. But you got to take at least one of these. At the very minimum, you got to take one of these to feel good about the back end of the season. And you get to bowl eligibility with 2 more wins. And I believe Arizona can find those 2 wins. Just a question of who, where, and when. Next up, Arizona State. All right. Arizona State, for me, they're 4-2. Part of the grading is based on what the preseason expectations were for your team. And I'm giving Arizona State a C-. This team was, of course, reigning Big 12 champs coming into the season. They're not out of it. They've got Texas Tech this weekend. I don't think it's going to go well for them, but that's beside the point. But let's be honest. Go game by game. They really haven't had a game where you're wowed by Arizona State. Heck, Northern Arizona, you can go back to that one and find some things where you're like, yeah, don't love it. Don't like how that game played out. Mississippi State, loss on the road. Baylor, 3-point win. Got to come back. TCU down 17-zip. Come back, win the game. Crushed at Utah by 32. And now you're going for Texas Tech this weekend. There's not much that I'm liking right now about this Arizona State team. I've got them at a C-, not the start to the season that any Arizona State fan was hoping for. And it's not just that they're 4-2, it's how they're 4-2, right? It's how they've gotten some of these wins combined with the losses that they have. They could easily be 2-4 right now. Like, let's be honest. Arizona State's not that far away from being 2-4. So that's why I've got them at a C- right now. Baylor, I'm giving Baylor an old C. I really thought the running game would be better. I thought the defense would be improved under Dave Aranda, and neither has been true. I mean, without Sawyer Robertson, this team is a dumpster fire right now, and good wide receivers. But the defense has been wildly disappointing. And same thing for Baylor. You look at this team and you're like, okay, I mean, all right, they're sitting there at 4-2 as well, and they're 2-1 in the Big 12. But do you really like how they've gotten to 4-2 if you're a Baylor fan? Do you? You lost to Auburn. You had to come back to beat SMU 48-45. My goodness. You lose to Arizona State. Feel like that one slipped away. You beat Oklahoma State by 18, but even that game was a one-possession game in the second half. And then you got to come back from 14 down to beat K-State. K-State arguably blew that game anyway. So you're 4-2, but once again, Baylor fans figured they could be in the competition for the Big 12 championship. And at 2-1 right now in Big 12 play, they technically can, but I don't feel good about their odds of doing it at all. So I've got Baylor at a C right now for their midterm report card. BYU, give them an A. The Cougars didn't know who the starting quarterback was going to be 2 months ago. Now they're 6-0. And yes, they've had to make some comebacks to get to that 6-0. That's why I'm not giving them an A+. But you tell me, what other Big 12 team would have to kick its quarterback off the team and then start a true freshman and then start off 6-0? So even though it hasn't been the prettiest 6-0, and there certainly have been some issues when you look at, late comebacks and maybe relying too much on certain players and realizing you do have a true freshman at quarterback, you can't look at BYU and not say they've got an A right now based on how the season has gone. So I've got BYU with a solid A on my midseason report card. Cincinnati, A-. Mostly because that Nebraska game just irks me to start the season. That would have been such a solid win. I know Nebraska's starting to turn it around under Matt Rule. I get it. But, man, that just still stings, especially with the way that game ended at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. But, hey, Cincinnati's 5-1. They've really got the really good win, of course, was Iowa State. But even going to Kansas and winning that game on the road to open up Big 12 play, solid victory. UCF at home this past week, you get a win. Probably should have been a bigger win than the final score would indicate. But you can't help but like what Scott Satterfield's got going there year 3. He needed to have a much better season to get off the hot seat. It looks like that's going to be the case. But, hey, we've also seen hot starts from Cincinnati in the past, and they have totally fumbled down the stretch. I don't think that's going to happen this year because they've actually gotten some pretty darn impressive wins. Like KU and Iowa State are games they would have lost a year or 2 years ago. They now have won those games, but they can't take their foot off the pedal. They've got winnable games at Oklahoma State this weekend. Then you have Baylor at home, at Utah, and then Arizona, BYU, TCU. So after Oklahoma State, you get to 6 wins. You're bowl eligible, but you want to be in Big 12 contention. Those last 5 games are going to be battles for Cincinnati. But a heck of a start, and we're giving Cincinnati an A- to start the season. For Colorado, I'm putting them at a C. They've been close, and they finally got that solid win this past weekend against Iowa State, and that's the first win versus a top 25 team since Deion Sanders' first game against TCU when they were still in the Pac-12. So I know that you're like, well, they're 3-4, they're 1-3 in the league. I mean, how are you giving them a C based on what they've done? You look at losing a Heisman winner, losing your starting quarterback, who is one of the best in the country, and coming close against BYU. The TCU game was not a 2-touchdown game. We've talked about that. They've come a long way from their loss to Houston early in the season. They're getting better. I don't want to say they're last year's Baylor, where they closed really strong, because I don't think that they are, but they definitely have vastly improved from early in the season, even against Georgia Tech. So I'm starting to like what I'm seeing from Colorado, and I'm giving them a C on the first half of the season. Houston gets a B+. They're 5-1. They are 2-1 in league play. A B+ for the Houston Cougars. And, partially because of how these games have gone. The Oregon State game was hideous. Then they get blasted by Texas Tech. They won't be the only team to get blasted by Texas Tech. Then, of course, they get a good win at Oklahoma State this past weekend. But, at 5-1, you feel good about the team, as you should if you're a Houston fan. You feel like Willie Fritz already in year 2 starting to turn things around. But those 2 games in particular stand out and make me a little nervous when it comes to what's to come. But, hey, I've got them against Arizona this weekend, so do with that what you want. I'm giving Houston a B+ at the halfway mark in Big 12 play. All right, next up in our grades, Iowa State. Boy, it's been a rough couple of weeks. I didn't think I'd be giving them a B, but that's when I'm giving Iowa State. And they've lost 2 in a row. They're banged up. That's hurting them in a big way. We understand that. But, man, losing at Cincinnati, losing at Colorado after a 5-0 start. It used to be Matt Campbell couldn't get a win early in the season. I mean, he could get a win, but you know what I mean. He had a lot of these close games. He'd always lose to Iowa. He'd struggle with, like, Northern Iowa, lose to Ohio. Last couple of years, hot start. But the month of October has not been kind to him. And it used to be Brocktober with Brock Purdy, if you recall that. But Matt Campbell, like, the dude was like 15-1 over a few years in the month of October and like 16-0 against the spread. I mean, he was just unbeatable in October. Now, this year, the injury bugs bit him. That's hurt him in a big way. And I'm giving Iowa State a B so far. They're in the mix, but you can't feel great about the direction right now and the trajectory if you're an Iowa State fan for the second half of the year. Let's go to Kansas. The Jayhawks get a B- so far this year. I'm looking at this Kansas team and saying, Jalen Daniels is healthy. There is potential. You like what you're seeing. But at the same time, man, that defense just looks like it is not ready for prime time, and that's because it's not close or ready for prime time. It's really that simple. The Missouri game stings. You know, you're leading that game in the first quarter by double digits, and you blow that one, right? Cincinnati, I mean, you had every opportunity to win a game you probably shouldn't have won. And then Tech jumps out to a 21-0 lead on you, and you make a comeback, and then after that, forget it. Game, set, match. They score 21 straight, game's over. So, you know, they got to figure out that side of the ball. Offensive line as well has to continue to improve, and I'm giving Kansas a B- so far this season. Kansas State gets a D+ from me. Now, they're in the mix. They're not out of it at 2-2. And they lost 4 games by 13 points. But you know what? When you lose 4 games by 13 points, you can look at it on one hand and say, hey, we were close. We're right there. The other hand, you say, how do you keep losing so many close games like this? At some point, the problem is staring at you in the mirror. And that's the deal for Kansas State right now. There's no other way to look at it. That's the problem for Kansas State. They have been their own worst enemy. And yes, they've been injured, and the Dylan Edwards thing is weird, but Avery Johnson is not developing as a passer. Matt Wells has had a rough start at OC. You can't deny it. All right. Questionable schemes being drawn up on that side of the ball, and the defense has at times been hit or miss. Had a great game against TCU with the 2 big turnovers that led to 14 points, but there still have been issues on that side of the ball as well. So I am putting K-State at a D+ so far this season. We go to Oklahoma State, who gets an F because I don't give out F- on the midseason report card here on Heartland College Sports. What do you need to say? They're at the bottom of the Big 12 in basically every statistical category. Offense, defense, doesn't matter. All right? They're at the bottom. They are 0-3 in Big 12 play. They are 1-5. They are getting crushed in these games. It's not even close. They are losing guys to the portal left and right. Mike Gundy's been fired. It has been an absolute, utter mess. I mean, it is brutal. 69-3 to Oregon, 19-12 to Tulsa, lose to Baylor by 18, Arizona by 28, Houston by 2. It's bad. Oklahoma State gets a big fat F from me. TCU, let's give them a C for the TCU Horned Frogs. They are 4-2 overall. They are 1-2 in Big 12 play. And similar to Baylor, and they're playing each other this weekend, but similar to Baylor, you just don't love even the wins. You just don't. The Colorado game was closer than the score indicated. You lose to Kansas State, right? You lose to Arizona State, you're up 17-0. You get a good win over SMU early in the season, you'll give them that, right? But Do you love how TCU is playing right now if you're a Horned Frogs fan? I don't think you can. You have questions on defense. Josh Hoover has not been great in conference play for a guy who I thought coming into the season was the top quarterback in the Big 12. So all in all, I'm looking at this TCU team and I'm saying, man, this could get dicey for Sonny Dykes if they really struggle in the second half of the season. But if they beat Baylor this weekend, then they've got West Virginia, a banged-up Iowa State team, and then you go to BYU, you go to Houston, you close with Cincinnati. If you told me before the season that would be the toughest stretch for TCU, I probably wouldn't believe it. But it looks like that may be the toughest stretch of their schedule, the final 3 games. At BYU, always tough. At Houston, continues to get better, 5-1. And then home to Cincinnati, who's sitting there in the top 25 right now. So go figure. But that could be the deciding factor for how this year goes for the Horned Frogs. They get a C. Texas Tech, what do you need to know? They're getting an A+. All right, they're 6-0. They're top 10 in the country. They are leading in almost every major statistical category in the Big 12 right now. So we're just riding Tech. I mean, let's be honest. The question feels like, who is Texas Tech going to play in a Big 12 championship game? Not will they get to a Big 12 championship game? And I'm not trying to be cocky about this. I have no skin in the game. I predicted them to win the Big 12 before the season, but it's not like I've got personal skin in the game. But what I will say is we have not seen this level, this kind of a gap between the top team in the Big 12 and the second best team in the Big 12 since the late 2010s with the Oklahoma Sooners under Lincoln Riley. That's the last time I felt like there was this kind of a gap between the top team in the Big 12 and everybody else. And that's what it feels like right now with Texas Tech and where they're at in this conference versus where everybody else is at in this conference. And that's why they get an A+ for their midseason grade. Next up, we go to UCF. I'm going to give UCF a B. You know, Scott Frost, totally new roster. No one knows anybody's name. Total reset. And they're 3-3. Now, I know they're 0-3 in Big 12 play. I get it. But even at 3-3, if you were a UCF fan and I told you you're 3-3 at the halfway mark, would you take it? You'd be nuts not to. It doesn't matter how you get there, but you're 3-3. You beat Bill Belichick. Now, I know that team's terrible, but still. And you're not getting destroyed in these Big 12 games. You're not getting embarrassed. It's not Oklahoma State here. It's not even West Virginia. Like, you're seeing signs of progress on both sides of the ball. And I've talked about it all the time, saying that the defense continues to surprise and impress me. So UCF gets a B from me. Utah gets an A- in my midseason report. They're 5-1 overall. They're 2-1. Of course, they got blasted by Texas Tech a couple of weeks back. But, you know, they have dominated every other game. 43-10, 63-9, 31-6, 48-14, 42-10. Those are the scores of the games Utah's won. And then they lost 34-10. So, actually, I guess their closest game was their 24-point loss to Texas Tech. Think about that. They beat UCLA by 33, beat Cal Poly by 54, beat Wyoming by 25, beat West Virginia by 34, and beat Arizona State by 32. So they haven't played a close game all year. That may be this weekend, of course, in the Holy War, but Utah gets an A- this season. West Virginia, putting a bow on it, gets a D. Yeah, they've been bit by the injury bug. It has not been pretty. They are 0-3 in the Big 12. They are 2-4 overall. That Pittsburgh win feels like a lifetime ago for the Mountaineers. But when you lose your Big 12 games 41-10, 48-14, and then 38-24, and let's be honest, you got a garbage touchdown there to cover that spread at BYU, that still nags me. Darn it. Oh, gosh, that game was a duh. But when you're losing by 3-4 scores, 5 scores consistently over the last few weeks since Big 12 play started, and you lost to Ohio as well, It's a D for the Mountaineers. So those are the grades. Halfway mark of the Big 12 season. I'm Pete Mundo. We are Heartland College Sports. We're glad that you're here joining us as a part of the show. As always, happy to hear what I got wrong. Oh, let's address this here. You want to hit this? Some of you are posting about this. Big 12 adding $100,000 fine for thrown objects, according to Kirby Hocutt. Yeesh. Effective immediately, the Big 12 will crack down harder on instances of objects thrown from the stands, a policy change that will put more scrutiny on Texas Tech fans' practice of tossing tortillas at Jones AT&T Stadium. Can I say something here? First, I want to make sure you're subscribed at heartlandcollegesports.com. I'm Pete Mundo. Thanks for being here. Tortillas don't hurt anybody, okay? Even if it's a hard shell. Tortillas don't hurt anybody. This is college football. There's a pageantry. There's a way to enjoy it. Let's have some fun. Okay, the pocket knife thing was bogus this week from Lance Leipold and KU. There was nothing there. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Nothing. Stop. Why is the Big 12 picking on Texas Tech, which is the best thing the league has going for it right now? Okay? Knock it off. This feels like it is over the top from the Big 12, trying to make an example out of Texas Tech, and I don't understand it. I'm not getting this one. I know that you don't want people throwing things from the stands, and if the pocket knife thing actually happened, I might go along with this. I might get it. I might understand it. But I don't in this case. This doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if someone gets hurt by a tortilla, please let me know. I had some tacos for dinner. We did a little Taco Thursday at our house because we missed out on Taco Tuesday. And, I've got a 7-year-old, soon to be 7, a 4-year-old, and a 20-month-old. And the tacos don't hurt. They can eat them. They're nice. They're soft. They're fun. They're easy to eat. No one's getting hurt by the tacos in our house. So I understand that you've got to be careful here if you're the Big 12, but please don't get too corporate. Please. All right. I mean, it just knock it off. Just roll with it. And if KU's complaining, frankly, KU's becoming a team that's becoming a bit of a crybaby in certain respects. And that is what you are seeing at the top. Gosh dang. Bob says here, I seriously want to go to the ACC now. The Big 12 is targeting Tech. All right, Bob, I know you're emotional, but take a step back. You don't want to go to the ACC, okay? Stop. I knock it off now. That's ridiculous. You want to go play NC State and Stanford? And Duke? Come on. You got a good thing going here, Bob. All right? You got like-minded universities. I agree this is bogus, but don't break out the ACC card. You don't really want that. You're on the verge of running the Big 12, which you've dreamed about for 30 years after playing little brother. Run the Big 12. Go to the college football playoff. Go win a couple of games for this league, which it still needs to do, and just be the villains. It's not bad to have a villain. I don't think Tech inherently wants to be the villain, but at the same time, someone's got to be it. And if you guys are going to have the $40 million rosters, you're going to be contending for college football playoffs, and you're going to be tossing tortillas, you know what? Embrace it. That's all I got. But don't go to the ACC. You would regret that. The fan bases in the ACC are not what they are in the Big 12. Come on, Bob. But I know. I get it. You're emotional right now. You're emotional. I understand the feeling. But you do not want to go to the ACC. Don't do it. Don't even think about it, my man. But I'm with you. I think that the whole thing is pretty bogus. I'm Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports. If you missed any of our Week 8 predictions or picks, subscribe to the channel. Find that show from Wednesday. We have a pick for every game in the Big 12 this week. we have picks against the spread as well in that show. That's why you want to be subscribed. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. And go Big 12. Enjoy the games. The Week 8 reaction show will be coming up either Saturday night or first thing Sunday morning. Another reason to make sure you are subscribed. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.